I hope I'm audible, right?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, yeah. So whenever we encounter some of the parameters by using a return statement, you want to call it as by using the parameter parsing, right? So that's how it's going to be gives welcome to Python course and some of the name you want to call it. So similarly, you have to pass it by using some of the variables. That is also be fine. If you want to pass it by using some of the, I can say, yeah, this like this a comma b or small number or large number. This is also be fine. But you have to be very careful about this statement and this statement because these both are different. Okay, because a is equal to 5 and b is equal to 6. But whenever you enter something called b comma a, it might be a reverse, right? Obviously, so the things will going to be changed whatever the results you are going to be expected. So similar way you had to be declare and give some logic, it will going to return that value. So yeah, that's all. If you want to pass these parameters, so here we are getting small number 4 and large number 16. We are just subtracting it, right? 16 minus 4, 12. So that's how it's going to be. Whatever the values you want to call it, you can call it by using that function, math functions. So we don't want to be give the exact function name with the keywords. Like if you want to give it the name of a function like for, let's say for is a keyword in the Python, right? So that's why it is giving some error here. It is not accepting. So you don't want to give the keywords. You have to be give just give some kind of number over it so that it might be accepted. Okay. So every time you don't want to be give. Yeah. Yeah, next we can also go with some of the keyword arguments. So here we are also getting some of the important details of the keyword argument. You can also directly give the values around it. That is also be fine. Or else you don't want to be give by using this I can say this name with some kind of values. You can directly also call it like this. If you want, you can also call it like this. That's how the keyword argument is. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. If you want to call it by using this and only for the value result, it may not be accepted. It throws some error like syntax error. You have to give more specific whether you have to give like this or this one. Yeah, so similar way we can also go with variable length. Variable length arguments will going to be help us as a asterisk character, which is going to be help us as a argument passing parameter. So I hope you might be I mean you are comfortable with this Python functions, right? After completion of these things. So whenever you encounter some of the arguments to know about something called as the fixed number of arguments, and also it going to be help us to understand whatever the numbers you want to give by using these arguments, results or parameters. So while we discussing about the function, just passing the whatever the values we want, but here by using the args like asterisk sign is going to be help us whatever the values you have to pass it. That is helpful. Whatever the you written logic inside that function, that might be I can say here we are getting iterative process, right? By using the I value keep is iterating whatever the value you have to give. So let's call this function by using my function. So I'm giving this 1 2 3 4 values. So it will what it is not nothing to do here, but it just going to give some kind of iteration over it and just printing whatever the values we have to enter here. So that's how the print statement is going to be entered, whatever the values inside that. Similar way, you can also assign different values like 1 comma 2 or 7 comma 8, whatever the values you want. Or else strings also like this. Yeah, you can also pass in the strings. I mean, this logic might be different from the every functions, but this is just basic syntax to about how exactly we have to assign these variable length arguments. So similar way, we unknowingly took the pause, right? So for that we are also called as a keyword arguments. by using the double asterisk. Okay, so whenever you encounter, you have to pass by using the keyword arguments, by using the key and value pair. Yesterday we discussed about the dictionaries, right? Key value pair. Similarly, we have also paused the arguments with the key and value. That is also fine. You have to be passed by using the key value or only for the value that your wish only. So we are just looping out here also. So whatever the values you have to give, a is equals to b, b is equal to, and cd. So these values comes under whatever, just printing the function, right? So key and value pairs. So you want to give the different also, that is fine. So scope of the variables, yeah, that's what we discussed right earlier of this notebook. So scope of the variables, we have the two local and global variables, which going to be give as so I can say, so this is a variable we have assigned with the name, some kind of string, right? This is global variable because it is outside of the function, which is not inside of the function, and which is not allocated to any memory, I can say. But it stores some kind of the variable, whatever the variable or whatever the functions you have to write after this. So it's obviously a helpful in some sort of global variable. So if you print that function, if you print this function, it might not be accessible to this. It will be accessible to this variable, but it may not be acceptable to the local variable. Here we don't have any local variable, right? So that's why it is showing outside of the function only. So if you want to specify to write about that local variable, it's going to be give as exact result. Obviously, whenever you call it this function, it's obviously give as a inside this function, right? This is the inside this function, and whenever you call it as a name, it is obviously a global variable. So that's how the basic difference between the global and the local. Here we cannot change the value whatever you want. So yeah, that's how this notebook